This is the Louisiana Forestry Association, and our mission is to promote healthy, productive forests through the practice of sustainable forestry. And today we're introducing teachers on the 2019 Louisiana Teachers Tour. Teachers, take care of our greatest resource, and that's our children. The Louisiana Forestry Association takes care of our greatest natural resource, and that's our forests. And today we hope to mix our teachers with our natural resources to make sure that when they're back in their classrooms talking to students that may want to get into natural resources, that they know that there's a resource and a reason for people to take care of our natural resources. We have teachers here from all over the state, from Livingston to Caldwell Parish, Shreveport, and all over. From 8th grade down to kindergarten, we even have some librarians here today. They're all interested in learning more about the science of forestry and what goes into making our forests as valuable as they are. Louisiana is a very large industry. It generates more income than all agricultural crops combined. The economic impact of our industry is over $13 billion a year, employing more than 50,000 men and women in this great resource. And the best thing about our resource, it's not depleted, it's renewable. And that is one of our missions, to make sure that we have a sustainable supply of resource now and long into our future.
To maintain it as a sustainable industry, we want to make sure that we do a good job and don't destroy our resource that we're providing there. And of course, the soil and the water and all the things that are necessary for good, sound forest management, we want to make sure that we maintain those things so that we can continue to grow these trees and crops of forest land in the future.
We have a classroom setting to where the teachers are told every aspect of the forestry, starting with the trees. The trees go to the mill makes the paper and the wood. We cover Project Learning Tree has the Wet and Wild project, so we cover the water aspect of it and also the animals.
The facility that the teachers are touring here today is located in Urania, Louisiana. It's a new startup facility, new sawmill. It's a big facility for this area. It uses approximately 850,000 tons a year of southern yellow pine. The decision to base this plant here, raw material supply is key, of course. If you don't have the logs, you can't run a sawmill. So abundant raw material supply of southern yellow pine is one of the key indicators, as well as a competent workforce. We employ at least 114 people currently at this mill. We're at the startup of the second shift currently, so we are fully staffed at this time. Before this plant was open, the economy in this area was fairly suppressed. New industry coming on always spurs growth. Before that, it was pretty depressed. There's a lot of timber here, but no mill to bring it to. So at this time, we open a plant like this. It gives an outlet for raw material, a much needed outlet for the raw material that we have in the area. Basic principles of a sawmill still hold true even from the old days. This is a technologically advanced mill, however, so it doesn't take quite as many people to run it, but the overall process is still about the same. Logs come in, they're weighed, scaled if needed, and stacked under a crane and fed through the mill. There's a primary breakdown as well as secondary. It makes chips and bark also as a residual product from the log, and the lumber is then dried and planed in a planer mill and goes to a shipping yard where it's shipped either by rail or by truck. Most of these products are going to Texas at the time. Markets change from time to time, but southern yellow pine, as you know, most any commercial, residential housing and buildings is a key component for housing. Southern yellow pine can be used in most all those applications. I'd like the teachers, after they tour this plant, to be able to tell their students that our raw material is sustainable. There's at times a misconception of we're cutting all the trees. We know we're not. If we were cutting all the trees, we would not be building a mill in any area, much less this one. It's a sustainable, renewable resource, and we know that. And that brings growth in industry to areas like this. We have an abundance of raw material, and I would like them to deliver that message to the students. It's key that they learn that aspect of the business, of the forest community, that is sustainable, and we're here to stay.
Hi, I'm Callie Glueck. I teach at Denham Springs Junior High 8th grade science. I came on this tour hoping to learn a little bit more, and I definitely did. very interested in what's going on over here. Did not know that the lumber yard would look so amazing. Watching a tree go from one step to the next and being able to carry that back in the classroom and tell the kids all about it, I think they're really going to enjoy it. We teach a lot about biodiversity and such, and I think that it's definitely going to be something that they could take in with the lesson that we're going to be learning this year. So,
what did you learn here today about the Louisiana forestry industry that you didn't know before?
Many things. Forestry isn't anything that I really was always, always particularly interested in, but definitely learning how all the producers that are involved in all of this, and how they even put, this is one of the main places around in Pineville for obvious reasons because of trees, and how they bring everything in and manufacture everything, and this is what it goes to the big companies all around. I just think that's so cool.
My name is Lisa Selesky from Iberia, Louisiana. I teach physical education at Johnson Hopkins Elementary School.
What did you learn here today?
I learned that there's an opportunity for investment in the forest industry.
What kind of a lesson are you going to bring back to your students from today?
Because I teach in a low socioeconomic area of the city, I will bring back that information about investment opportunities and opportunities to bring forestry and conservation into art.
What did you learn about the Louisiana forestry industry that you may not have known?
I did not know that it was the main income in Louisiana, and it brings back a lot of revenue into the state.
I'm Kimberly BRAUD. I teach kindergarten at Word of God Academy, and what I learned here today was just the process of all of the steps that a tree goes through to be cut down into the planks.
What did you learn about the Louisiana forestry industry and its importance to the state?
I learned that it's actually one of the most important crops grown here in the state. It's actually #1 in the state right now.
What kind of a lesson are you going to bring back to your students from today's tour?
Well, I teach a unit every January on Louisiana, and so I can bring back samples of things that I've learned and implement that in my classroom and show them the importance of forestry in our state.
I'm Jean-Marie Moe. I am the librarian at the Academy of the Sacred Heart. We have pre-K 3-year-olds up through 12th grade. That's who I teach.
What did you learn here today?
More about how the logging industry is done these days in this really new facility, which is very streamlined. I learned how much technology is used now, and one thing that was really neat was how safe everything seemed in there, because it's a lot of standing kind of behind a computer screen and monitoring what's going on, as opposed to people in there like with the saws and everything. It just looks like a great facility.
I'm Steve Turner. I teach Biology 1 and 2 at Covington High School. Today in the mill we learned how the trees are harvested, and then how practically every part of the tree is used, from the pulp to all of the wood inside. And the process is very efficient, aided by computer technology, in order to get the absolute most out of every tree to minimize the waste.
What are you going to tell your students in terms of a lesson? What kind of a lesson are you going to be able to give the students?
Well, we're always looking at how we can sustainably live on our planet and maintain our lifestyle, and through the forestry industry, it's a sustainable industry, and so we'll spread that to the students, that wood is a useful and sustainable product, not one that produces a lot of waste. It does no harm to the environment when we discard it, as plastics do and other materials, so it's a good product.
My name is Anita Green. I teach first grade in Franklin Parish. I teach all subject: reading, math, science, social study.
What did you learn here today?
I learned today here at the mill how the process of how trees come in and get processed, and I learned how the new technology, when they're going through the process of the technology, how the computers and the different workers work together to get all the trees through process. And so the new technology, because back in the days I don't think they had the high-tech knowledge, since it's the new facility, so I didn't think the new process is just overwhelming. I really enjoyed that.
What did you learn about the Louisiana forestry industry?
Well, what I learned by the Louisiana Forestry industry, that they do a lot of things in order to help out with the forestry, and then too with this teacher tour is learning to try to bring back into my classroom. And I think it's great that the Louisiana Association do that and reach out to different teachers who are to support them to learn to bring back different techniques they can show their kids in the classroom and a hands-on experience.
My name is BRANDY-MANGUS. I teach 7th grade science at Walker Junior High in Walker, Louisiana, which is in Livingston Parish. I learned here today how much technology has played a pivotal role in advancing our forestry industry. I liked looking at all the different ways that they can cut a board and using technology to get the most out of the wood so very little is lost.
What are you going to be able to teach your students about what you've seen here today about the forestry industry?
Well, we cover climate change and deforestation as a major one, but knowing that here they make it sustainable so that when they cut an area down, they replant it and nothing is damaged. The earth is replenished and those cycles that we have, the oxygen cycle, it can continue and there's still habitat for animals because it'll continuously be rebuilt.
My name is ANDREA Cooper. I teach 3rd grade at Winsburg Elementary School, and I teach everything: math, science, social studies, and reading.
What did you learn here today that you're going to be able to take back to your students?
The process. I mean, this is my first time knowing, that trees are important, and the process of that they had. I mean, everything was just lined out, how they can take a tree and make boards. I mean, the process.
I'm Mandy Farley, and I teach 6th grade math at Winfield Middle School, and we just saw how the lumber worked from start to finish at this new facility, and the most interesting thing were the wood pellets and how they're going to be able to use those more efficiently.
How are you going to integrate math into what you've learned here today?
It's just a way to give the students like a real life example of how they need to be able to use math in their life skills.
What have you learned about the forestry industry from this tour?
It's just very beneficial for Winn Parish, and it is the main industry for some of the parents of the students that I teach.
I'm Heather Canals. I teach in Grayson, Louisiana at Grayson Elementary School. I'm a special education teacher for grades kindergarten through 3rd. And we saw today how the logs are processed into boards and separated by length and width and the different machinery used to make that.
For every one tree that's cut, we're planting at least 3 to replace it. Our growth is exceeding the cut in areas all throughout the South, and this area is no exception to that. The abundance of raw material is one of the key reasons why we locate in this area.
It's interesting when the teachers that are here today come from an educational background, and many of them don't have the experience about forestry, and they probably have different ideas of what forestry is all about. What we hope that at the end of this time that they realize that forestry is a science. It's also an art, that it costs a lot of money to do what we do. It's a sustainable industry, and managed properly, it will continue to provide benefits to the state and to our rural communities year after year after year.
How can people get more information?
You can call us at the Louisiana Forestry Association. We're in Alexandria, Louisiana. Our website is www.laforestry.com, and our phone number is 318-443-2558.